Joining us will be the award-winning, vivacious radio producer and reality star, Suzette Amaya.
Yeah.
The fabulous Suzette. And the award-winning vocalist and international touring star, Shawnee. So, beautiful ladies, should we start with maybe telling a little bit about how you started out and how you started your audience development?
All right, I'll start. Okay, my name is Suzette Amaya. I'm from Vancouver, BC. Born and raised, and sometime on the reserve in Port Hardy on the west coast, on the island. I created a radio show in Vancouver called Think Indian, 100.5 FM. And I've been in radio since '97, so back in the day, really old school. Back when we had like tapes, but then we'd have to splice them and glue them together and stuff like that. So it was really old school back then. And when we moved to CDs, it was a big thing, and now everything's digital, so I just play music online now. I started seeing a need in our community. I didn't really have the confidence. I moved to the big city, and you know, when you're living on reserve, it's kind of intimidating. Vancouver's so big, and I decided, well, I love Buffy St. Marie, and that's all I pretty much knew. And when I saw her, if you just Google her, YouTube her, she's like beautiful, sexy, powerful, smart, intelligent, political. She was like a goddess to me. Buffy St. Marie was groundbreaking. She broke barriers. Her music has been sung by many different artists, and she was a writer for she had music for even Elvis Presley, right? And you know, so she definitely broke some stereotypes, and was even on Sesame Street, and many more things. And I decided, wow, like I want a strong voice like her as a female person. And I want to be able to build a pop culture in my community, just in Vancouver. So I started on a show called When Spirit Whispers, and it was this political show, and we would have different artists come on. And that point was like, how do I get an audience to listen to our show? I had to build confidence, but be a part of the community. So what I started doing was going to every nonprofit Aboriginal organization and becoming friends with every receptionist. Because I knew we didn't have emails back then, so if they can get in your newsletter or just talk to them or hang out when they're having a super panic, anything, right? And then every kind of event they would have, even if it's not even related to music, I wanted to be there. Because in this industry, whether it's entertainment or just community, it's about building relationships. And if you're in the music industry, you have to build a relationship with your audience. And I figured, well, if I'm going to become like a personality, I want to have people know me as a friend, as someone that they can trust, and trust that I'm producing or sharing information that's valuable and good quality, right? And then as you start hearing people's stories in the Aboriginal community, you start realizing that we've all overcome a lot of adversities and a lot of barriers, and we all have similar goals. And then it just kind of grew. So Vancouver, my husband and I, we created Think Indian. That started in 2003. And what we did was we created pop culture. We were doing concerts, and we would start doing helping artists develop their skills, helping them break into mainstream. It was marketing. I remember I did a flyer, and I went to the printer, and they're like, oh, this needs to be 300 DPI. Now, this is 10 years ago. I'm like, what's that? I had to learn to do graphic design work myself. And that was just going online and, researching everything that I've done. So I do photography, graphic design, everything in marketing and media, it's all me. I mean, I'm a mom of 3 kids. I learned everything myself. And you'll be surprised when you work in this industry, you can pick up other people's brains and learn so much, right? So throughout the years, I've come a long way. I travel extensively for artists out there. It's always good to get out there and travel. and build, spend time like digging roots. Good friends of mine, they got kids. I'm a mom. The husband and wife duo, just like my husband and I. We have same passions. We have the same goals. Everywhere we find, your story is relatable to everybody, right? You may not even realize it. And that's what's empowering, is that when you want to create something, there will be people who support you. You just want to do it, do the work, right? And that's a huge part of just getting out there. I never sleep. It's just more and more makeup. That's all it is, trust me. It's more makeup, more talking, more hanging out. And I love it, because if you love what you're doing, people will feel it. If you're passionate, people will want to be passionate too, right? So I love meeting new artists. Our radio shows won 3 awards at the Aboriginal People's Choice Music Awards. We decided, I remember when I created thinking, am I going to be there every single Monday for the rest of my life? It was a huge commitment, right? I do a lot of research. I've done a lot of work with CBC, predominantly just with the CBC hosting was for hip hop. And I manage hip hop artist Joey Styles. So him and I travel all over the country. He does a lot of his own management, but I do all the paperwork and the contracts, and all his graphic design I've done. And that's me learning pretty quick how to do it all. But I'm that woman in power that will just come and talk to you and hang out. You get to know people on a personal level. You'll realize that, you can make a lot happen. And I don't know, I'm really blessed, because there's room for everybody in this industry. And I think there's room for anyone and everybody who has a passion for it, because, there's artists that are out there getting radio play all the time. And when I hear a new artist and someone that I'm like, wow, so talented, and like you, Ja, and everywhere has so much talent, so much stories to share. And as Aboriginal people, we're coming up really strong. And our stories are diverse, just like Aboriginal people. And those stories, whether it's contemporary, for me, I'm like 2nd generation residential school survivor. And in that respect, being a survivor and breaking those cycles, that's a lot to share, right? And people in our communities can relate to that. And when you're passionate about it, people will want to support you. You just have to do the work to get that information out there.
And you have to be very infectious, as you are, because it's like, hey, it's like, wow, I'm here.
I'm gonna walk away now.
I love this.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
Suzette, wow, I can't believe you have 3 kids on top of that. Woo. That's like Superwoman.
Yeah, I never see. And it's funny, my children, my one son, he's in music academy. The song Anything by Headley, he sang on that song. So he performed with Headley, and they performed at GM Place in front of 30,000 kids. So my kids are both, they're musically trained, cello and clarinet, and they can read notes. If you want to be a singer, start studying music.
Yeah,
and I think it's a very competitive industry, and I will be tough on artists out there who want to break out. You can have the most beautiful lyrics, but if you're not polished, you want to represent the best, and we have the best people out there. I think it's important to really try to not only study performance, but it's a whole package. That's what the industry is all about, right? And I'm not saying you just be real.
Well, Shawnee.
Should I introduce myself?
Yeah. Please.
Well, I really don't know how to top that. You pretty much covered everything I was going to say.
Oh,
Everything else,
you're the artist. I'm the man behind the scene.
Yeah. So my name is Shawnee. Hi. I grew up in Welland, small town. And I fell in love with music the way my mom explained it. I came out as a feisty kid in love with music. And it was just in my heart. It was in my heart from day one. And then, I'd run around singing on picnic tables and running around my house and picking up my dad's guitar. I wasn't allowed to touch it, but I'd take it and sneak it and try to write songs and do whatever I could. And then I was singing a Shania Twain song out somewhere around, and somebody approached me and was like, oh, you sound like Shania Twain. You kind of look like I was 12 years old. at this time. You kind of look like Shania Twain. So my first job was at 12 years old, and I became a Shania Twain impersonator.
Cool.
Yeah, so after that, I fell in love with, 100% fell in love with performing. It was then I was like, I want to do this. I want to do this. And it translated into a whole journey of different things. But I quickly realized at a very young age, my mom told me at 12 years old, she looked at me and said, if you want to do this, this is you. You've got to learn yourself. You got to figure this out yourself, because people will take advantage of you. People will try to stop you. And if you want to do this, you have to be strong yourself. So I too, you have to figure out, how do you market yourself? I would record a little song on a tape recorder, and I would take it to the festival director of Little Welland, and 13, 14, say, I want to sing, can I sing? I'll sing right now, I can do it. And then I'd be walking in the mall, I'd see a little kiosk, and there, someone's raising money for a fundraiser, and I want to support you, I'll come sing at your event. And that's how I learned very, very young that as far as the passion goes, it was there. As far as, the talent goes, I think it was there. But I had a lot of work to do as far as the business went, as far as the networking went, the marketing went. And then it just, from there, it gets, as things started to develop, I then was in a rock band, and I was kind of touring like the bar scene as an older teenager and doing AC/DC, Led Zeppelin kind of stuff. So I mention that because it's a big influence in my music now, and the gritty kind of, I did that for a few years. So, and then I decided, I was making good money. That was my job as a teenager, and I finished high school and decided, I really want to go for this. How am I going to do that? So I started really trying to pick up guitar. I'm going to have to learn an instrument because I want people to hear what I have to say. There's a lot of things going on in the world. There's a lot of things going on in my life, and I feel like I want people to hear what I have to say. So I really started investing time in writing music. Same thing in Toronto. I moved to Toronto. I saved up enough money in my little bank account, and I moved to Toronto with nothing, not knowing anyone, not knowing what was going to happen. Had a little apartment, and same thing, I picked up my guitar. Anybody that would let me play my guitar, I would play my guitar for them. Anywhere, any little bar, any little anything, I would go and I'd play my guitar and my songs. And then, and even at that point, I realized I still have so much to learn. I still have so much to do, and I still have, you're constantly growing, constantly trying to figure out, how can I be better? How can I learn the business side? And I say owning your craft. I call it owning your craft. You have to own it if you want it, because the talent can be there, the passion. A lot of people ask me, how do you do it? I want to be a singer, but how do I do it? And there is no answer. There's no answer. There's no even telling what you could be. As far as getting a label and a record deal and becoming famous, you don't know that. It may never happen. It only happens for a small amount of people, and that's okay, because you can make a living out of music. You can make a living out of it if you own your craft. If you own it and you go for it, and the passion is there and the education is there, you have to educate yourself, and the drive, and that's pretty much what I say. Own it, go for it.
Well, it sounds like passion.
Yeah, high five.